So we're starting over here now the new Mishnah. By the way, we're almost done with the Masechta. And the Mishnah continues to tell you the various different Torah readings that we read throughout the year. So the Mishnah says, Pesach. What do we read on Pesach? So the Mishnah says, Korin beparshas mo'adois shel Toras Kohanim. Toras Kohanim is another name for the Chumash of Vayikra. It's called the Torah of the Kohanim. That's another name for Vayikra. The portion of Moyadois, meaning the portion discusses the festivals, that is in the Chumash Vayikra. In the portion of Emer, in the Chumash Vayikra, the Torah discusses there about all the holidays that we must observe. So that's called the Parshas Moyados of Toras Kohanim. And it says you read it on Pesach. Now, we all know the way we do it, we read on Pesach, we read from the Parshas Boyi. We read about Chodesh Hazeh Lochem, Rosh Chodesh, Mishchul Chulachem, the preparation, the whole thing about Pesach. We learn in the portion of Boyi, not in the Parshas Moed Toras Kohanim. That's actually done on the second day, Yom Tov. But one thing we'll see, as Rashi will point out, this Mishnah is talking about like in Eretz Yisrael, or in the time of, in Chutz La'aretz, but in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash, when there was not a second day. There was only one day Yom Tov, as Rashi will say. But the point is, we don't do it exactly the way it says over here. We will see later on in the Braisa, it changes a little bit. I just want to say, it starts off that on Pesach, and when it says here on Pesach, we're talking about the first day Pesach. There's no 2-day Pesachs in the Mishnah. So you read the portion of Moedes of Toras Kohanim. The way we do it, we only do it on the second day, but on the first day we do the portion of Shemois. We do Parshas Boy, in which it says Mishchul Chulachem Tzoyin told them to prepare for the Korban Pesach. That's what we do. We do this in the second day of Yom Tov. As far as I know, even in Eretz Yisrael, they don't do it where we have 2 days. But why? We'll go weiter. Let's just see what the Gemara says, what Rashi says. What is the Parshas Moed Shebetoras Kohanim? The section of Moed Toras Kohanim. So Rashi says that's the portion that starts with Shoir Oy Kesev. That's what it starts over there. But then it goes away to talk about Shoir Oy Kesev, Eski Volid, Voyo Shivas Tachas Yom Tachasimo. You start first with the laws of the Shoir Kesev, and then it turns to the laws of Yom Tov. That's Rashi just gives you the beginning of that section before he talks about the Moyadei Hashem. He starts with Shoir Keves. Now, Rashi says, "Ubeyoyma kamo mayri." Here he's talking about the first day. And Rashi explains, "Ubebraise amrinon bo," and the Braise we say about it that ushar kol yemei haPesach melakid v'koire minyone shel Pesach. That in the rest of the days of Pesach. So here we're talking about the first day, but what about the rest of the days of Pesach? So it says in the Braise that the rest of the places you collect and you read from the Pesach matters the way we find it in various parts of the Torah. The festival of Pesach is the Gemara will have a simon for that, and why we do the Cholamoyed Pesach as we do it also. But there is scattered Pesach idea in the Chumash in various different places, and that we read during the rest of the days of Pesach. So he says, "Umad the shayir b'masnisin tona b'braisa." That which it leaves out in the Mishnah, the Mishnah doesn't talk about what you read the rest of the Pesach. So that we learn in the Braisa. So basically, what we're missing here, you'll find in the Braisa. Rashi says, be patient. We'll get to the Gemara and the Braisa, and then we'll see the other things that are not mentioned over here in the Mishnah. The next thing he talks to you is about Ba'atzeres on Shavuos. So again, over here it says you read Shiva Shavuos. In the parsha of Re'ei, that's called Kol HaBechoir. It starts Shiva Shavuos, the Kol HaBechoir. Over there, I just realized I didn't let him in. Over there it says, sorry, Ron, I didn't realize you're trying to get in. Okay. Okay. So over there it says, it also talks about the counting of the 7 weeks from Pesach to Shavuos in the portion of Kol HaBechoir, which is in the portion of Re'ei in the Chumash Devarim. Now, we read on Shavuos, on the first day Shavuos, we actually read Aseres HaDibros. We read the 10 Commandments. That's not even mentioned over here in the Mishnah. In the second day Shavuos, we do the Kol HaBechoir, as mentioned in the Mishnah over here. So we'll see in the Brisa also, things get flipped around when we read both. Here, we're talking about when there's only one. Again, I don't think necessarily that in Eretz Yisrael, I think in Eretz Yisrael, they do the same thing like we do over here, what we do on the first day. Okay, so next, Rosh Hashanah. What do we read in Rosh Hashanah? So that's also from the really the portions of Moed Shel Toras Kohanim. This is still in the Chumash Vayikra. It talks about all the Yomim Tovim in Parshas Moed. So over there is B'Chodesh Hashvi'i B'Echad LaChodesh. One of the psukim, some of the verses talk about the 7th month on the first day of the month. That's Rosh Hashanah, and that's B'Chodesh Hashvi'i. Rashi is the Shoir. Oikesev, this is in the portion of Vayikra. This is the Parshas Moedos of Toras Kohanim, the way we said before, by Pesach.
Is that a typo? Dishor? Because before is the Dalet a typo?
I don't hear so well, Miriam.
Is the Dalet a typo? Because it's Shor Okesev, not Dishor.
Yeah. It's actually of Shor Okesev. Di means like of. It's Aramaic for. It's like shel Shor Okesev.
But the word in the Chumash is Shor Okesev.
Yeah, Shor Okesev. It's this Shor of the Shor, but that's the.
Okay.
But that's still the same of the the Toras Kohanim. Now we actually on Rosh Hashanah we read about Hashem Pakad Esora. We read about the beginning of the story that Sarah had Yitzchak that it tells Hashem Pakad Esora, and also on the second day we read about the Akedas Yitzchak. We read over there. We don't read this, but this is what the Mishnah says over here, that we would read B'Chodesh Hashvi'i B'Echad LaChodesh on Rosh Hashanah. Then B'Yom HaKippurim. So over there already we don't read from the Toras Kohanim. Over there we read Acharei Mos. In the portion of Acharei Mos, over there is the discussion of the whole procedure of Yom Kippur. Now, B'Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, the first day of Sukkot. In Pesach, he didn't tell you about the first day. Rashi says that the Mishnah will say, the Brisa will say later on. But here, he does talk about the Yom Tov of Rishon of Sukkot. So over there again, it's the same by all Yom Tovim basically. We read the portion of Moyadas of Teres Kahanim. So basically, according to the Mishnah over here, again, like you said before, in Pesach, we read from the Parshas Boy, but over here it says Sai Pesach and Sai Shavuos, and now Sukkos, Riyad Rishon Chag. You read Kodim Parshas Moedesh B'Teres Kahanim. You read the Yom Tovim the way they are in the Parshas Emer. That's in Teres Kahanim. But over here, the Mishnah adds, Ubeshar Kol Yemei Chag, and what do you do in the rest of the day of Sukkos? You have another. Sukkos is 8 days, right? So what do we do the rest of the days? Actually, Sukkos is 7 days. The 8th day is Shmini Atzeres. That's a Yom Tov by itself. So there's 7 days of Sukkos. So what do you do on the rest of the days of Sukkos? You do the Korbanos HaChag. You do on Sukkos, every day you brought different Korbanos. The number of Korbanos changed from day to day. It actually kept on getting less bulls. You get a total of 70, but you started off with 14, 13, it goes down, the numbers go down, how many bulls you brought, the Parei HaChag. But you read the correct number for that parsha. We don't do that for Pesach, like we don't do, because all days of Pesach have the same korban. On Pesach, it doesn't say in our Mishnah, but it says later on in the Brisa brings down that we do Pesach in the various different parts of the Torah. We do the Pesach on the rest of the days of Pesach, but we can't do just the from Parshas Pinchas the Korbanos HaChag means in Parshas Pinchas. We can't do the Korbanos HaChag on Pesach because you'd be doing the same korban every day. There's no difference in the korbanos in the entire 7 days of Pesach. It's the same korban. So therefore, over there we do it differently. And also we have a lot of parshias that discuss the Pesach. That's why we would do that. But here's a long Rashi when it explains a lot of things about the reading of the Torah on Sukkos. You read the Korbanos HaChag. What is the Korbanos? Now, basically, like we were talking about in the Parshas Emer in Vayikra, over there it talks about the festivals themselves. In the Parsha Pinchas in Bamidbar, it talks about all the Korbanos that you bring under each of these holidays. So the holidays itself is mentioned in Teres Kahanim, in Parshas Emer. But the Korbanos that we bring, that's mentioned really in Parshas Pinchas. So here, look what the Rashi says. Rashi is a long Rashi over here. Rashi explains exactly how it works. Koyrim bekorbanos hachag beParshas Pinchas. So we read the portion of the Korbanos Chag in Pinchas. Now, the first thing is Ketzad. How so? So Rashi says Ketzad. How so? So Rashi says like this: Yom Rishon v'Yom Sheni. The first 2 days of the Yom Tov, right? The first 2 days of the Yom Tov. So then Koire HaMaftir. Then the Maftir reads, on the regular day Yom Tov, we already have a Torah portion. The Torah portion is whatever the portion of that day is. So on Sukkot, we just said, you read the Parshas Adis Shebetoras Kahanim. So you'll get 5 aliyahs of Yontiv you'll get inside the regular parsha. But then we do the maftir. So the maftir we're going to do from the Korbanos HaChag. So therefore, Yom Rishon, the first day of Sukkot, the Yom Sheni, and the second day of Sukkot. Koira HaMaftir, the maftir will read. What is he going to read? He's going to read the Chamisha Osor. The first pasuk over there that it says, it tells you what the korban you bring on the 15th of the month. On the 15th of the month, I told you bring this 14 elim, whatever the korban there is. That's what we read in the Haftarah. We only have one aliyah over there because the regular aliyahs we read in the Parshas Ma'adas. We read already from the Torah's Kohanim. Here we're only going to read one. We're going to read B'chamisha Osor. When are we going to read B'chamisha Osor? Both on the first day of Yom Tov and on the second day of Yom Tov, right? Which day is the second day of Yom Tov? Which day of the month is it?
The 5th.
The 16th, right? Why are we reading on...
So when he says the second day
of Yom Tov.
So but he's talking. So before we were talking about one day Yom Tov, now we're talking
second
about
day of Sukkot. Here we're assuming already, Rashi's talking about after there is 2 days Yom Tov, right? Because Rashi says, Yom Rishon Yom Sheni Koyda HaMaftir. If it's in the time when only Yom Tov was 1 day, there's no Maftir on the second day, B'chlal. So in the scenario that Rashi is giving, he's talking about in our days, when we read, we have 2 days of Yom Tov, and we read Maftir. So what are we going to read Maftir? It's explaining what we just said, B'Korbanos HaChag. So what Korban of Chag, which Korban, what day Korban we're going to bring? The Torah says on the 15th day you bring this amount Korbanos, on the 16th day you bring this amount, on the 17th day, the 18th day, the 19th day, the 21st day, 20th and the 21st day. 7 days, every day changes the korban that you bring. That the Torah says there's a different number. A lot of it stays the same, but there's a different number of bulls that change every day. So, when you read the maftir, so you're going to read 5 are going to read in the Torah, then you're going to read the maftir. Which one is the maftir going to read? He's going to read B'chamisha Osor. He's going to read the 15th. So I'm asking you the question now. This Megillah, the first day Yom Tov, I understand. You read the 15th because it is the 15th of the month. But the second day of Yom Tov is the 16th day of the month. No? So why do we only read, as we will see later, why do we only read the 15th? Why don't we read on it the 16th? Not only
the reason we have is
and the 16th, we don't read the 16th at all.
Right, but the reason we have Yom Tov on the 16th is because we think it might be the 15th. So
exactly. Very good. Exactly. We don't want to give away and say the second day Yom Tov that it's the 16th. If you're going to give away the 16th, then they're going to say, so why is it Yom Tov? So you're not going to want to do that. So when it comes to the second day Yom Tov, we have no choice. We're just going to do the 15th over there. Because we're pretending that this is really the 15th because we're doing Yom Tov then because of Sveika de Yomer. So we're doing Yom Tov. So therefore we cannot do anything else. Look what Rashi says.
Do we do the same thing on Sukkot? Do we do the same thing on Sukkot, or the Sukkot?
Same thing on Sukkot as well.
Okay.
But no, on this is Sukkot.
Okay.
Only on Sukkot.
Okay.
On Pesach we do the same one every day, because the maftir is the same every day, because it's the same korban. There's no change all days. All 7 days, the musaf on all 7 days of Pesach are the same. So there's no difference. Over here, it's only by Sukkot that there is a difference. Each day has a different korban. So, first Rashi says that Yom Rishon v'Yom Sheni, Koira Maftir, the first and the second day, the Maftir will read B'chamisha Osor on the 15th. Now Rashi asks, "Va'afal pi sheyom sheni hu." Rashi's talking about the second day, but it's the second day. Why would we be reading on the second day the maftir b'chamisha osar? Ein koydin boy ubayom hasheni. So we don't read there on the second day of Sukkot the portion of Bayom Hasheni. We don't do that. The way the Psukim have that, I'm just going to look in the. You have it so in the davening and
Well, in the davening, we cover both bases.
But
both.
In the davening, the first day of Sukkot, we're only going to say, also for the same reason that Rashi says here, on the first day,
the second day,
we'll say both. Starting with the second one, we start saying both of them, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the pasuk calls it the second day Sukkot. It's not like I said before. It's not the 15th, the 16th, the 17th. It calls it the second. First day Sukkot, second day Sukkot, third day Sukkot, and the seventh day Sukkot. So during the first 2 days, we're gonna just do Bayom Harisha. I is Bayom Hasheni. Ba'afal pi sheyom sheni hu. So Rashi ein koydin boy ubayom hasheni. We will not read Bayom Hasheni. Why? And that would show if we read Bayom Hasheni, laharis to show shu safik yom sheni, that it might be the second day. So if now Rashi says, okay, maybe we understand that you have to read also Bayom Harisha, because if you don't read Bayom Harisha, everybody's going to say it's Yom Tov. It's not Yom Tov if you don't read Bayom Harisha. But why don't we also read Bayom Hasheni in addition to Bayom Harisha? Because maybe it's Yom Hasheni. It is Yom Hasheni, but why do we not read also Bayom Hasheni? Rashi says, "Ein koydin boy Bayom Hasheni laharish shu safik yom sheni," to show, well, this is maybe the second day. Why do we just read Bayom Harisha on the second day of Sukkot? So Rashi explains the gnai hu likrish yom tov b'sofek chol. It is an embarrassment. It's degrading to read Yom Tov and saying, "Oh, maybe it's weekday." You're saying Yom Hasheni. On Yom Tov, we're saying maybe it's weekday. Oh, maybe it's Yom Hasheni. We don't want to publicize it that this might be the second day. This is embarrassing, and we don't therefore do it. So therefore, on the first 2 days, we just do Bayom Harisha. What do we do now? Yom Rishon Shel Chol HaMoed. What do we do on the first day of Chol HaMoed? Which is really what? What is the real day, Yom Rishon Shel Chol HaMoed? That's really the third day of Sukkot, right? We had the first 2 days. And the third day of Sukkot is the first day of Chol HaMoed. So Rashi says, Yom Rishon Shel Chol HaMoed, the first day of Chol HaMoed. Now that is Shu Suffix Sheni, Suffix Shlishi. So that's a question whether it is the second day. In other words, if the second day Yom Tov was really the first day Yom Tov, so then this is the second day. And if it's the first day was Yom Tov, then this is already the third day. So the first day of Chol HaMoed is maybe second, maybe it's the second day Sukkot, maybe it's the third day Sukkot, right? So how do we read the aliyahs then? Now we have to have 4 aliyahs on Chol HaMoed. We said Chol HaMoed is 4, so this is where you read it. Koyre Rishon. So the first one reads Bayom Hasheni. Okay, that's the first day, because maybe you start with the first one. It may be Sheni. V'tinyona, the second one, reads Bayom Hashlishi, which it is Yom Hashlishi. And Tliso, and the third one, Bayom Haravi. You want to give each one their own day. So one. So you start with the second. Perhaps it's the second. The second one says it's the third, and then the third one reads Bayom Haravi. What is Haravi? The fourth one. Shehu noise b'shvil chayla shalmoyed. He is addition because it's chayla moed. We have 4. Can't do just regular 3. We do 4. Who koydes sveika hayom? He is the one that will read the questions of the day. You read them both together. Umahin sveika hayom. So always the 4th one will read the suffix of the day. He will read Bayom Hasheni Ubayom Hashmini, Bayom Hashlishi. He will say the Bayom Hasheni, but those are the 2 questionable days. He goes back and rereads Yom Hasheni and Yom Hashlishi. V'chein lemochor, same thing is the next day. Koyre Rishon, the first one, which is the second day of Chol HaMoed, which is a question whether it's the 3rd or the 4th day of Sukkot. So the first one reads Bayom Hashlishi. That's the first day that it's questionable. It may be Shlishi. Then the Sheni Koyre Bayom HaRevi'i. Second one reads the 4th. Bayom HaRevi'i on the 4th day. Shlishi Koyre Bayom HaChamishi. VaHaRevi'i Bayom HaShlishi Bayom HaRevi'i. And he would read Shlishi and Revi'i. Shein Sveika Yom. Those are the suffix of the second day Chol HaMoed. Is maybe it's the 3rd day of Sukkot. Maybe it's the 4th. So the 4th one always reads the Sveika Yom. This is the way all the time. A Revi Koira Mashakora Rishon V'Sheni. The Revi reads that which the first one and the second one read. So that goes up until the 7th day of Sukkot. The 2nd day of Sukkot, the 5th day of Chol HaMoed. Chutz miyoim achron shel Chol HaMoed, Chol HaMoed, with the exception of the last day of Chol HaMoed. Here we have a problem. If we follow the regular order, the way we're doing till now, right? At that day, we should start by Yom HaChamishi. No, we should start. So we should start by Yom HaShishi, because it's the 7th day, but it may be the 6th day, because if the first day was the 2nd day Yom Tov, so then that's the 6th day. So if we did what we did normally, we would do 6, 7, 8, right? Rishon would get 6, 7, 8, right? And then the Shlishi Revi would get 6 and 7, because maybe it's 6 or 7. That would get the Revi, right? The problem is, you follow what I'm saying or not? Let's go again. If we follow the regular order we did till now, when it comes to the 7th day of Sukkot, it may be the 6th day of Sukkot, it may be the 7th day of Sukkot. If we follow the sequence, the pattern that we did till now, you would have started reading Bayom HaShishi for the Rishon, Bayom HaShvi for the second one, Bayom HaShmini for the 3rd one, and you would do Bayom HaShishi, Bayom HaShvi for the last one. The problem is, we can't do here Bayom HaShmini, because Bayom HaShmini is a whole new Yom Tov. It's not even associated. We can't do Bayom HaShmini here. That's separate. That's a Chag B'fnei Atzmai. So he says, Chutz miyoim achron shel Chol HaMoed. With the last day of Chol HaMoed, which is Zayin Sukkos, she'yevsher likros Bayom HaShmini. You cannot read Bayom HaShmini over there. And the reason is, Lifi, she'einoi mimei hachag el regel atzmai. It's not part of the Yom Tov of Sukkot. It's a Yom Tov by itself. So, you can't read Bayom HaShmini or Shlishi. So, Lefikoch, Yom Zayin Shel Chol HaMoed, what do we do? Rishon goes back one, Bayom HaChamishi. So you go back one earlier. Normally you would start with Yom HaShishi, so you go to Yom HaChamishi. And Sheni, and the second one, koire b'yom hashishi, and shlishi, the third one, koire b'yom hashvi, v'haravi koire b'yom hashishi b'yom hazayim. So he's going to do the second and the third one versus doing what the first and the second one did. He's going to do the second and the third. Shehein sveika hayayim. Those are the suffix of the days. Says that's what we have to do it that way. Yeah.
Can't we say that that's Hoshana Rabbah, and we should have something totally different for Hoshana Rabbah?
Hoshana Rabbah has different prayer and everything else, but not as far as the Kriyas Torah. Kriyas Torah is consistent; it goes the same way. We don't have a different Torah reading for. It's a regular Chol HaShamoyed. It's Erev Yom Tov, but it's Hoshana Rabbah. That's for the additional prayers. So you circle the bima, you do the Hoshanis, and other things. You do a special davening even, but it doesn't change the Torah reading. Torah reading stays consistent, Hoshana Rabbah, just like the rest of the Sukkot days. Further, by Chanukah, what do we read in Chanukah? On Chanukah, we read the Nesim. Over there, you learn that Parshas Nosei, which does Chanukah Samizbeach. So, what is the connection with Chanukah with the Nesim, with the leader? Because they dedicated the Mishkan. Because also on Chanukah, the Mizbeach was desecrated by the Greeks who entered it. They defiled the Beis HaMikdash, and we dedicated the Mizbeach again. So therefore, because of that, it's appropriate to read the Chanukah, the Nisim. Bepurim, on Purim, we read Vayove Amalek. That's when Amalek comes and he has war with Yidden Refidim. That's in Parshas B'Shalach. And then B'Rosh Chodoshim. On Rosh Chodesh, we read B'Rosh Chodshechem. And that's also in the Parshas Pinchas. That's the Korbanos of Rosh Chodesh, which are in the same Parshas Pinchas where we have the Korbanos. But we read B'Rosh Chodshechem. And actually, in order to get the four aliyahs, we start from Vaydaber, the four aliyahs that we have, the way it works on Rosh Chodesh. Then we have the Ma'amodis. Ma'amodis, Yisrael b'Ma'amodim. So the Yidden had a participation in all the Korbanos. Of course, the Kohanim had their mishmoras, they would do the work. The Leviim also had their groups when they would sing in the Beis Hamikdash, but the Yidden would have to also stand by the Korbanos as representative of the rest of the Yidden. That's called the Ma'amodis. And what do you read over there? You read over there B'Maaseh Bereishis. You read in the act of creation. That's the Bereishis Bara Lekim that we read in the beginning of the Chumash. That's the Maaseh Bereishis. That's what we read. So Rashi b'Maaseh Bereishis, the Maseches Tainis Perek Basra Shnuya Seder Kriyos. In Tractate Tainis, in that last Perek, it tells you how we read in the Maaseh Bereishis, what exactly you read. So it says like this: Vayom Harishon, on the first day is you read Bereishis and V'hirokia. That's the section in the Chumash. You look over here in the Siddur, exactly the but still so you read Bereishis and then you read Vayomer Elokim Yehirakia. And then Vayher Vayibaki Yem Sheni, I guess. B'Sheni, you go back and you read Yehirakia, and then you do the next Yom Shlishi, which is Yekovo Hamayim over there. And Begimel, you read Yekovo Hamayim, and you do what the first Himayiris and Revi about the honor of the Mayiris. The Revi, This is all during the weekdays, on each day of the week, what we read. And Merivi, you read Yim Oiris, and also V'yishritzu Hamayim, which was done on the 5th day, and B'chamishi, Yishritzu Hamayim, B'toitze Ha'oretz. I think the Gemara over there says that you needed all that because you needed enough psukim to cover the Torah reading over there. And Bashishi, you do Toitze Ha'oretz V'yichulu Hashamayim. You do the rest of the creation. That's my separation, is what we do Mamodas. V'hosa mefarish timer mai koidim b'mai separation Mamodas. Over there, the Gemara gives the reason. Why is it that we really read my separation during Mamodas? Shebishvil hakorbonos miskayim shemayim va'oretz. That it is because of the korbanos that the shemayim va'oretz are miskayim, that they last, is because the korbanos that we bring. So therefore, we're reading, when we're doing the Mamodas, we're reading the korbanos at that same time, because that sustains, the korbanos are what sustains the shemayim va'oretz, that's what we read. The tinius, what do you read on a tinius? You read the brachos uklolis. You read the brachos uklolis. This is, Rashi says, the imbechu koisai, of the portion of imbechu koisai. Why do we read the Eibishter says is going to give? If we follow the Eibishter's lesson, he'll give us the gashmis if we don't. So we don't actually do that. But it says, the Mishnah says, we read lohidia shaliske hachet po puranus loilam. That is to let known that it is because of the sin that there is punishment in the world. And then v'yachziru b'tshuva, so that will bring them, once you know that the problems that you have, that the problems that the world has, the punishment is because of sin. So people will do teshuvah. V'yinotzlu mitzora shein nisanin Allah. So then they will be saved from the tzora that they fast. This is not talking about the regular fast day that we fast today. When we fast on a regular fast day, this is really talking about special designated fast day that the Beis Din declares when we make a special fast day. But we do Vayichal, we do different. Ein mafsikin beklolis. He says we don't make an interruption when reading the curses. Ella echad koire es kulam. One person reads the whole. So Rashi, ein mafsikin beklolis. We don't interrupt. The mefarish milsa, as the Gemara explains this matter, she'ein shnayim koirin bahem ella echad koire es kulam. One person reads the entire. Flawless is one person reads it. Ushnayim orishonim kodim parshas brachas, and the first two, they get to read the portion of the blessing. So you have 3 aliyahs. So and the tiniest. So the first two get the portion of the blessing. In you split it up for the brachas, and the klolos is read by one. By us, the tradition is that the Balkor himself gets to, in the Parshas B'chakoisa and Kisavit, he gets to read it. What do we do on Mondays, B'Sheni, B'Chamishi, and on Thursdays? And Shabbos B'Mincha, and by Mincha Shabbos. Koidim Kisidra. So then the Torah reading is the order, which means Be'inyan Seder HaParshiyos, you do the subject of the order of the parshas that you read in the Torah in that week. The Tanoi Pligi B'Braisa, the Gemara, in the Braisa, the Gemara will bring down a Braisa, 2 opinions. Heichin Maschil B'Sheni B'Chamishi. Where do you start on Mondays and Thursday? So we start from the beginning of the parsha, but in the Gemara there is brings down a two opinions. Ve'ein oilin lohem.
What's the other opinion?
Huh?
What's the other opinion?
I think you do it from the end. I didn't look it over yet. It's on the next page, and we'll get to it.
Okay.
Okay, we know what that we do, but here he doesn't even say what we do. We just know where we do it. He just says that he'll bring down where do you start from? I mean, we know what we do on Mondays and Thursday. It's interesting. Rashi says where we start Mondays and Thursday. It doesn't say where we start on Shabbos, Shabbos. Okay, but in any event, the Gemara says Mishnah says ve'ein oilin lahem min hacheshbon. The fact that you read it on Monday and Thursday does not count for you as reading that part in the Torah. In other words, you have to start on Shabbos rereading it. When Shabbos comes, then you need to go back and repeat that which you read on Shabbos Mincha, and on Monday and Thursday, you have to reread it again. You're not yotze with what you already read. Shenemar. Now, this pasuk is not just for this; it's for the whole Mishnah that we read the subject matter on the holiday, because the pasuk says, "Vaydaber Moshe moyadei Hashem el bnei Yisrael," and Hashem spoke that the holidays of the Yid to the bnei Yisrael, meaning during the holidays, Moshe speaks the holidays. Mitzvosam sheyiyu koydin kol echad echad bizmanoi. The mitzvah is to read each one of the sections in the right time. So Rashi says this is not just for this is for the whole Mishnah. Shenemar vaydaber Moshe moyadei moyad Hashem bnei Yisrael al kulam asnisim koyi. This goes on the entire Mishnah that we're talking about, that we just said that we read the portion of the week on that week, to learn from here, that it's a mitzvah to read on the day of the Yom Tovs from the subject of the Okay, so let's just leave it over here now as far as the Gemara goes. Just touch a short word on the Parshas. Of course, is the Parshas Pinchas. Now, one of the things that Pinchas stood out was the fact that he was a person that stood up. He stood up and he put his life in danger by taking action. As the Rebbe explains, that it was a act that he did that was questionable even, and it's not something that Beis Din would tell you to go do. It's called halacha ve'ein moedin kain. It is the halacha, but we don't instruct you to do so. It's basically optional. You don't have to do it if you don't. You don't have to. It's not a mitzvah to do it. If you choose to do it, you could do it. Actually, when you read the Medrash, it seems like Pinchas was doing something which not all the rabbis agreed with him. Some of the people thought, some of the rabbis thought that it was wrong for what he did, that he should not have done that. Until at the end, you see that the Eibishter says, Hinini noisun loyas brisi shalom in our parsha Pinchas, that the Eibishter gave him the covenant of peace. The Eibishter rewarded him with something which is beyond nature, because normally a Kohen has to be born from a Kohen. He was the son of Elazar, but he was born beforehand. And he and his children all became Kohanim, even though naturally, if you're not a Kohen born, you can't become a Kohen. But he went beyond the nature. And the thing is that because he acted in a way, it became clear that what Pinchas did was save the Jewish people, because at the end of the day, there was a plague. And it was only because he took action, that's the way the Jewish people were saved. The Rebbe associates Pinchas with the work of his father-in-law, with the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe of Yosef Yitzchak, the sixth Lubavitch Rebbe, with his Mesiras Nefesh that he had. And actually, the name Pinchas, if you spell it with a Yud, Pei Yud Nun Ches Samach, has the same gematria as the name Yitzchak. And also, Pinchas was from the seed of Yosef, so it's associated with Yosef Yitzchak. The previous Rebbe was not really technically, halachically required to give up his life to fight for Yiddishkeit, but yet he did it. And he did it in a way that he put in danger some of the other work that he was doing. And if he would have, God forbid, been lost by the government, if they punished him and they did what they wanted to do, so then a lot of all of his other work that he did would have sort of gone to waste, chas v'shalom. So it means that he endangered not only his physical life, but also his spiritual life. And this comes all from Yitzchak, Pinchas, Gematria Yitzchak, the Rebbe's name is Yitzchak. When Avraham took his son Yitzchak and brought him on the Akedah, this was like a non-reasonable thing to do, because it would almost seem like, who would teach the world? Here, Avraham came and taught the world about monotheism, about Hashem, told them about all, and the only one who would be qualified to follow him and to continue the legacy was Yitzchak, and here he's going to bring him a korban. Well, that was Hashem's command, but that's a level of Mesiras Nefesh. The previous Rebbe, as we see, that Yiddishkeit was sustained both in that country. Now we see the results, and also the constant Mesiras Nefesh that the previous Rebbe had in the middle years while he was in Europe, and then when he came to the United States, this unyielding and unwavering self-sacrifice to do whatever he can to preserve Yiddishkeit all over the world. And we see now that his work paid off. He was like Pinchas. He stopped the plague, because there was a plague of intermarriage, a plague of apathy, a plague of non-interest, a plague of a lot of people dropped Yiddishkeit. Another thing, the Rebbe fought for it, especially the yeshivas and the institutions and everything else, and the work continues. But this is all the dedication, the self-sacrifice, which eventually led to the Rebbe's success. And if we take a stand, sometimes it's hard, and sometimes we don't even see how we're going to accomplish. But at the end of the day, as we could, and the Rebbe showed the way. So we're not at the Rebbe's level. We're not like Pinchas. We're not like Yitzchak. But at least in our own little areas, we should stay strong and do what we need to do without wavering. And then if we do it, we'll be successful. All right. This brings us to the end of this today's class. Hope to see everybody in Mitzvah Hashem next week, Bezrat Hashem, and have a good week. And we'll see you.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Thank you.